Ih, caramba, acabou a bateria do celular, marquei bobeira, agora não tenho mais o Waze aqui pra me guiar. Eu tenho que chegar no hotel lá, como é que eu vou fazer, hein? Bom, vou ter que dar um jeito. Não tem jeito não. Vamos lá. Pegar alguém pra me ajudar. Não conheço nada por aqui. Pegar alguém pra me ajudar aqui. Vamos ver quem que tá disponível aí.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Yuri, to help me to go to the hotel. I am without my smartphone. How are you?
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, Yuri, how many times have you been in Brazil?
Not sure, maybe 20 times.
20 times?
Yeah, a lot of times.
I've been twice in Israel, so you came...
But Brazil is 10 times bigger than
Yes,
Israel, right?
yes,
So-
of course, yes. Yuri, what are you doing now after sell ways? What are you doing now? How many business you have?
So I'm building startups, right? And all of them have the same philosophy of solving big problems, right? So doing good and doing well. And they are in different markets, right? So I have Moveit, which is like Waze but for public transportation, actually answering the same question. How do I get from here to wherever I want to go right now, but using public transportation?
Yes, Mufti we have in Brazil.
Yes, and it's actually there are 30 or 40 million users of Moveit in Brazil. It's growing faster than Waze, so all goodness, and it actually helps to avoid traffic jams, even more important than Waze. FIEX deals with the biggest secret in the world, financial fees. In the US alone, there are $700 billion of
Really?
financial fees every year. 700 billion. This is like 25% of the GDP of Brazil, right? So really a lot of money in financial fees. And the scary part is that people don't know that they're paying them. If I would ask an average person how much money you're paying on your retirement plan, no one would know. When I was young, my dad once told me that if you don't know how much you're paying, then you're paying too much. And so we built a platform that creates transparency and help people to understand how much they're paying and compare prices and understand how they can save a lot of money. Now we think that this is insignificant, right? This is financial fees. It's 1% or 2%, not a
Yes.
big deal, right?
Yes.
So 1% a year after year after year after year on your retirement plan is going to accumulate into 1/3 of your lifetime saving.
Really?
And this is a lot of money.
Yes.
Zik is a marketplace for store credit and gift cards. So just imagine that you go to the store to return something and they give you this store credit that you can use within the chain. Turns out that 30% of them never being used. Now these 30% is $100 billion a year of breakage. And so simply sell that to someone else that can use that,
Yes.
and recover the loss, so to
Yes.
recover the breakage. Engie is also very successful here in Brazil, deals with the frustrations of going to the mechanic.
Yes.
I take my car to the mechanic, whatever they'll say, I'll say okay, because I don't know, right? And so if they will tell me that I need to replace the carburetor in my car, then I would say okay, go ahead and do that. Except the fact that this car does not have a carburetor.
Yes.
It's a new car and they don't make car with carburetors anymore.
Yes.
And so we don't know. So Engie is an app running on the smartphone that connects to the car computer, doing the diagnostics for you, telling you what's wrong, and then asking a mechanic around you to quote to repair that. And so empower the driver with the knowledge and with the ability to do price comparison. And there is nothing like price comparison to keep everyone honest.
And how many mechanics do you have here in Brazil in your database?
So mechanics already a few hundreds, users more than 100,000 here in Brazil. And it's starting to create a lot of value to a lot of people. People really like that. At the beginning, it was a little bit shaky, not enough mechanics. Now it's starting to become a balanced marketplace,
Yes.
and this is where it's become much more valuable.
And how is the business? How you get money with the Engie, for example?
So at the end of the day, Engie is a marketplace, right? So we connect buyers, so people that have problems,
Yes.
with sellers mechanics that provide service, and we charge per transaction.
I see.
So very simple. Marketplace always have the simplest business model in the planet. Fairfly, another startup, deals with maybe the biggest secret in travel industry, and this is what happened to airfare after you book your flight. Now you don't know because you never compare prices after you make the reservation. You compare prices before you make the reservation,
yes.
but no one compare prices after they made the reservation.
Yes.
Now the reality is that prices are going up and down all the time, and even after you make the reservation. And so what Fairfly does is monitor your own itinerary, and if the price drops below cancellation fees, so let's say this is the price that you paid and this is cancellation fees, price drops here.
Yes.
You're leaving money on the table.
Yes.
You can rebook the same flight at a cheaper price, or you can maybe rebook an alternative flight at a cheaper price. And so this is a Fairfly. Let's see, what else do we have? Refundit, not in Brazil yet, but will hopefully come soon. Deals with the frustrations of getting VAT back as tourists. Right? So when you travel to Europe and you buy goods, you're entitled to get the VAT back. But when you try to do that, you'll find out that there are always bad things happen, right? So maybe there is long line at the custom, maybe the custom office is closed, maybe you get there and they tell you that at the store you needed to bring a different forms. Always stories, right? 95% of the cases, people fail to get their money back. And I'm building that in an app that all you have to do is use your smartphone to scan the receipt, scan your boarding pass, scan your passport, and get your money back. As simple as that. And so this is Refundit. C3 is actually in a different field and is operated already in Brazil. Is in agriculture technology space, and what we have is a very, very sophisticated sensors mounted over drones and flying over fruit plantations, so flying over the trees and doing on a single tree level analysis whether or not the tree is healthy or not, and provided the farmer with what's going on in the farm, right? So whether or not this tree is healthy or not, and if it's not, then
it's agrobusiness.
Yeah, it's agriculture business. We actually here in São Paulo State dealing with the farmers that are doing oranges, so citrus farmers, because in particular there is a major disease here called HLB, and this is very critical for them.
Yes.
And last one that is announced is LifeCare. And LifeCare is building the smart medical alert system for all their population. So my mom is 85 years old and she's living in an assisted living facility, but she's completely independent, right? So she does have her own apartment there and she can go and come back and so forth. And in her living room there is a wall-mounted emergency push button that if something happened to her, she can press on that and speak with the nurse station. If something happened to her, how exactly she's gonna get there?
Yes.
And so we built a system that is a wearable device, right? Could be a bracelet, could be a necklace, could be on the belt, whatever it is, and has itself is the communication device, right? And has fall detection and indoor and outdoor. And so if something happened to you, it's not you that needs to call help. It's the help knows that something happened to you and asks you if everything is okay. And so changing the paradigm of how service should be provided to all their population. And in my pipeline, I have 2, 3, 4 more startups that probably I will be building in the next 6 months. And essentially, you know, my philosophy is finding big problems that is worthwhile. But my methodology is very consistent, right? I start with the problem, and as soon as I realize that the problem is big enough and worth addressing, then I'm looking for the team to execute. And when I find a team, I would guide the team, I would mentor the CEO, I will invest in them or invest with other investors in them. And I will keep on guiding them until they figure out product market fit. Now, at the beginning, it requires quite a lot of my time, but over time, they need less and less and less of my time. So my time is being freed up, and I can start another one.
Yes.
And essentially, this is what I do.
But how do you keep in touch with these developments? Do you tell them this is wrong? You must do like this way or not?
So I guide them, right? I'm not carrying any executive role in any of the startups, but I mentor them and guide them, and I try, and the best as I can do is to show them how I think, which is from the user perspective, from the understanding the problem, and then try to solve the problem in a way that it's actually simple to use for the user. Because at the end of the day, there is something that I call it's the equilibrium law, that basically say that the level of complexity between the client side and the server side is one sum, is always the same.
I see.
If you want to have a very simple user experience, then the server side is going to be very complex. If you are not building a complex server, very simple server, you will end up with a very complex user experience. And if you want to address a lot of people, then it needs to be simple.
I see. In your opinion, which is the biggest market in the future? Is robotic market? It's a marketplace. Is what?
So I think that the pace of innovation is increasing, and when we try to think about so how the world is changing, and you look in the last 10 years, then you realize that there are so many things that you are using every day that you cannot even survive without them. That just happened the last decade, right? So iPhone, Waze, Uber, right? So many things happened in the last decade, and then you start to think, okay, so what's going to bring us the next decade? And it's going to be even more, right? So we will see autonomous vehicles. We will see changes or dramatic impacts in medical services. We will see ability that robotics will actually do operations much better than human beings, right? And so we will see a lot of changes that will make the future even more dramatic than it is today.
Really, and the food market, it's not big.
The food market is very interesting because in traditional businesses, you ask yourself, so what is the impact of digitalization on the traditional business? We are not going to eat iPhones, right, or bits and bytes,
yes.
right? We are eating food, right? And so I think that we will see a lot of improvements in the processes, but not dramatic changes in the fact that we still eat 3 times a day, and we still drink, and we still enjoy that, right?
Yes. And how you manage your time? Because you have a lot of business, and the day has 24 hours, and you are traveling around the world.
But I'm always, even when I travel, I have connections with my startups.
Yes, of course.
And usually what I do is as I mentioned earlier, the younger startups requires more of my time, and as soon as they mature a little bit, they require less of my time, and I free up my time and so forth. Right now, when I ask them whether or not you need more of my time, I think they're getting what they need. And the time that they will start telling me, okay, we don't get enough, then I will need to figure out whether or not there is a way to duplicate myself, or whether or not there is a way to get additional help, which, by the way, I have a friend that helps me in many of the startups. Or maybe it's enough. Maybe I should rest a little bit and not build more startups. But the problems, they don't go away, right? They're still bigger problem than before.
Look, we are in the hotel. You bring me here. Thank you very much for the pool. Okay, you are a very sympathetic person, and success in your business. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eu tô aqui, não fico quieto, tirando uma onda na carona com Leco. Eu quero ser legal, eu quero ser do bem. É ser do bem, me faz bem. Então andando de carro, as coisas acontecem sim. Essa carona tá sendo boa pra você, também tá sendo boa pra mim.